Evan, thank you for joining us. First of all, can you talk to us a little bit about Julius Randle, who broke his foot this week, maybe what kind of impact that's going to have on his game and his recruitment going forward?
TJ, the big news out of Texas this week was Julius Randle and the injury to his foot. That's going to put him out a couple months, maybe even up to 3. It will likely eliminate him from the McDonald's All-American game because there is a limit. You have to play so many games in your senior season, so he's probably not going to get to play with that. So kind of feel for the kid in that area. Certainly still a very talented prospect. He's a guy we have ranked among our top 5 players in the country, and I don't think this is going to impact or affect his development going forward. Could it have an impact on his recruitment? He's already taken a couple visits. He visited Kentucky officially. He visited Florida officially. He's going to take possible official visits to Texas and Kansas coming up, and then he's going to go to North Carolina State the weekend of January 26th. So still a lot to play out on the recruiting front. I don't see him making a college choice anytime soon. I think we're going to see that go late into the spring. So Julius Randle, we're looking at a spring decision down to 5 or 6 schools and starting to take a couple more visits.
Over the break, Cal was in Florida. He took a visit to Montverde Academy to take a look at a pair of guys that have some ties to Kentucky. Can you talk to us a little bit about that trip down to Florida?
Yeah, TJ, John Calipari and Orlando Antigua went to Florida this week to check in on 2 prospects. One, a 2013 recruit in Dakari Johnson's. The other, a 2014 prospect, D'Angelo Russell, who also happens to be a Kentucky native. Both play at Montverde Academy. Both have connections to the state, and it appears that Kentucky is ramping up their recruitment on both. They've officially offered Dakari Johnson, who's a 6'9", possibly 6'10", 240-pound big man, a guy ranked as a 5-star player in the top 20 in that 2013 class. And you know, he's a guy I think Kentucky's starting to target. They're clearly ramping up their attention, and I know he had 25 points and over a dozen rebounds in the game that Calipari was at, so had to have been impressed. And then with D'Angelo Russell, he's a 2014 combo guard. He's originally from Louisville, playing at Montverde with Dakari, and he's a guy that I think probably wants us to come closer to home for his college destination. So Kentucky appears to be ramping up their recruitment with both of those guys.
With a week between games, Cal also took some time to visit a point guard, 2014 point guard Tyrus Jones. Can you talk to us about that visit and kind of describe what kind of player he is?
You know, when Andrew Wiggins opted to go to the 2013 class, we had to come up with a new #1 player in the 2014 group, and that guy is Tyus Jones. He's not only the best player in that class, he's the best point guard, kid out of Minnesota. You know, some have compared him to Chris Paul. He just has a tremendous feel for the game, gets on the court where he wants to, has really developed his jump shot, and had a really strong AAU season. And he's a guy that John Calipari and Orlando Antigua saw this week. He's a guy that they're targeting. Kentucky has clearly had some tremendous success with point guards, and I think that most of these kids recognize that. And this is a guy that Kentucky's targeted. It's a guy that Michigan State and Duke are also going heavily after. And you know, I think this process with Tyus Jones is going to go a little further. I don't think he's anywhere close to making a college choice, but I think Kentucky is certainly involved. They're certainly showing their interest in him. I know John Calipari has been up there a handful of times. So yeah, Calipari and Orlando Antigua saw Tyus Jones, nation's best player, this week.
Jones and Johnson and Russell were the 3 big guys that UK took a look at. Who else was the staff popping around the country and watching this week?
It really has been a big week for Kentucky on the recruiting trail to go with all these other guys we just talked about. John Calipari also saw 2014 shooting guard Adonis Henriquez. He's a guy ranked among our top 75 players out of Florida. I'm sure once they saw Dakari Johnson, D'Angelo Russell, they slid over to his school and watched him play. And then he also had assistants watch Julius Randle this past weekend, and then they had an assistant coach watch 6'7" combo forward Zylan Cheatham, probably a name most Kentucky fans aren't familiar with yet. He's a 2014 player, an absolute elite athlete, and a guy that's really on the rise. He's currently only a 3-star prospect, but we're evaluating him and have seen some recent tape on him. And he's a guy that I could see making a big jump during this high school season. An absolute elite athlete and a guy really bouncy. So that's another name for Kentucky fans to put on their radar.
All right, Evan Daniels, thank you very much.